Good day, South Africa. You are live on Bodado TV, the TV that cares.
Beautiful.
Hi guys, I'm back. We've had an amazing walk around this beautiful botanical gardens in Pietermaritzburg. The birds are out, the greenery is amazing after the beautiful rain that we've had, and we found the perfect setting to talk about the perfect topic. I want to talk to you today about emotional intelligence, and I really feel that it is the missing subject in schools and perhaps even in the workplace. Emotional intelligence is vastly different to IQ, which is the format that people use to measure academic intelligence. It is often based on maths and science, IQ, and yet IQ doesn't seem to be getting us the results that we need in our world today. Emotional intelligence is all about our emotions. It is understanding who we are and how much value we place on ourselves as human beings. It is vitally important within our school system, within our workplace, and within our family and friends environments. Emotional intelligence has a lot to do with interpersonal relationships. We often find that a lot of non-productivity within the workplace, within our school environment, comes from the lack of emotional intelligence. It is a great passion of mine to spread the word about this very, very, very important topic, and perhaps, who knows, one day make it a subject within our school environment. So what is emotional intelligence? Well, it's a vast topic, but it can be broken down into 5 mini topics: self-awareness, self-regulation, self-motivation, empathy, and social skills. That's it. These topics encompass the entire realm of emotional intelligence. And today I'm really excited to start the first of a 4-part series in which we are going to deal with the topic of emotional intelligence. Today we're going to be talking about self-awareness. Now I suppose it's the word that's passing around from club to club and school to school, but do we really understand what self-awareness is and the importance of developing that skill? It is not something we are naturally born with. We have to learn to be self-aware. Now what does that exactly entail? Self-awareness is about knowing what makes you tick, in a nutshell. What makes you tick? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you angry? What frustrates you? What do you enjoy? What do you want from life? Where do you want to go? What are your dreams? What is the trigger that sets off emotional behavior that is not exactly acceptable within society, within the people that we'll deal with? How do you deal with your personal relationships? Your friends, your partners, your lecturers, your teachers, your parents, your grandparents, the person at the cashier at the spa. How you deal with life is all about being self-aware. And a lot of the time we go through life not even realizing that we are behaving a certain way. We're basically in reaction mode. Everything we do, everything we say almost comes automatically. And a lot of the time we are not aware of the words we use, of the reactions that we have. And this is where emotional intelligence skills comes into play. Knowing who you are is the first and most important step in understanding emotional intelligence. Knowing who you are is the first step in making any kind of positive changes within your life. When I talk about knowing who you are, it certainly leaves out everybody else around you. We're talking about you. This is not an opportunity for you to sit down and know who someone else is. We're talking about knowing who you are. Do you really know who you are? Now there's another very important aspect to this. We are born into this world knowing who we are to a degree that we don't understand as young babies. We demand love. We demand attention. We believe we're worth this. We have very few fears as tiny babies. But as we develop into adulthood, go through our schooling system, go into the workplace, we are often conditioned and we learn various behaviors and how to behave in response to certain activities that happen around us. We develop fears that we never had before, and we start behaving often the way we believe other people expect us to. We often behave without even being conscious of the decisions and choices that we make in our lives and how those really affect our lives. The one thing that we really need to realize that choices are what life is about. You have choices. You can make any choice you want to, whether that's a positive choice, a negative choice, or any choice in between. But there's one thing that you do not have any control over, and that is the consequence of the choices that you make. Every choice you make has a consequence, and that you really must understand. Every choice you make has a consequence. If you make a good choice, a positive choice, a choice that makes you happy, the consequence of that would be a positive one. However, if you make destructive, self-defeating choices, which is a lot of the time what we do as human beings, the consequences are often negative. And it makes us unhappy, miserable, frustrated, and all those negative things that hang around us. But now, choices is what self-awareness, what emotional intelligence is all about. When we make a choice, are you conscious of why you're making a certain choice? Do you know why you're choosing to do whatever you're choosing to do? This is self-awareness. It's not just going out blindly deciding how to do this or do that, how to speak to someone, how to react to someone's behavior towards yourself. It is about being consciously aware of the choice that you're about to make. If you are self-aware, you will most certainly choose better for yourself. You will want what every other human being wants. It's a common thread. We want to be happy, really happy. We want to feel fulfilled. We want to live a life of purpose, a life where we feel we have a place. We want to be able to deal with difficult people because that's what life's all about. We have people that have less emotional intelligence skills, or have learned less to where they are at when you meet them, and others who are more emotionally aware. You need to deal with both sides. Now that brings me to another point, and it's something I will deal with in other talks that we have in the future, and that is about the skill of staying detached from the opinion and behaviors of others. Have you ever considered that you can stay detached? You do not need to internalize negative behaviors. You do not need to make that a part of your life. You can choose to stand within yourself, knowing who you are, and make positive choices despite external circumstances. In fact, learning that skill is vital to your ultimate happiness on this planet. Making mistakes is another thing I'd like to deal with in a very big way in later series as we go along. As we come into this world, we do not know the consequences of making mistakes. And often we are brought up by parents who parent us the way they were parented. Teachers who teach us the way they were taught. And this can lead to some serious fears building up within ourselves. Fears that we need to change. One of those fears is making mistakes. We all make mistakes. There isn't a human being on this planet that does not make a mistake. If there is, I'd love to meet that person, because we have yet to find someone who cannot and doesn't make a mistake. In fact, when students come to me for advice or for tuition or whatever they want to talk about, a lot of the time I have to teach them the skill of making a mistake effectively. How else are we supposed to learn unless we make the mistake. You cannot go through life not being able to make mistakes. Being self-aware will definitely help you make better choices when it comes to making mistakes. It will help you understand that making mistakes is simply a way of learning. And if we can teach that to ourselves, and we can set an example to others to do exactly the same, can you imagine the stress levels of everybody that we hang out with decreasing at a rapid rate? A lot of our miseries come from that big word, mistakes. It's inevitable, you cannot not make it. But we will deal with that in a later series as we go on. It is a very important topic. Students need to understand it, parents need to understand it, we all need to understand it, and we all need to be okay with it, because that is what life is all about. The other thing that we need to deal with self-awareness is to avoid the inevitable and conditioned way we bash ourselves. We often go through life seeing ourselves as being less of what we really are. Every time something doesn't go right, we often turn within ourselves and bash ourselves for that. That is just a self-destructive, self-defeating way of handling life. Being mean to yourself is really one of the things that need to change in every single one of our lives. We really need to start looking at ourselves and seeing the value of who we are. Being self-aware is the first step in getting this right. Self-awareness will help you understand those moments when you turn on yourself, quite literally. Those moments when you tell yourself stories about yourself which really are not true, but you find it easier to bash yourself than to learn from the mistake that you have made. It is something that we all need to learn as human beings, and we need to teach our children the same thing. I teach my children, being mean and cruel to somebody else is unacceptable. Being mean and cruel to yourself is the number one unacceptable thing you can do. Remember, everything we do in life, everything we give out, is what we have inside to give. I did deal with that briefly in our previous chats. Everything we give out is what we have inside to give. If you are constantly telling yourself negative stories about yourself, you are going to project that onto others. You are going to project that into your personal relationships, and you are going to have the consequences that go with that. And those are often unpleasant, cause misery and unhappiness, and you don't know why they're happening. So the very first thing that you need to be is aware of how you treat yourself. It is the most important thing that you need to understand today. Treating yourself with care, with respect, and understanding that, hey, you are where you are, and you know who you are. It doesn't matter what happens around you. You can make choices independently of that. You will reap the consequences of a happier, much more fulfilled life. So, being honest with yourself and being non-judgmental with yourself are the two most important aspects of being self-aware. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Consider this with all honesty and without any kind of negative self-bashing. How self-aware are you? Do you know what your strengths and weaknesses are? Do you acknowledge your weaknesses as being a part of your learning curve? Do you know that your strengths can help you attain all your dreams? Do you follow those? Or do you still feel like your strengths are not good enough? You see, this is the difference between emotional intelligence, EQ, and IQ. I don't have a great love of the IQ system. Here we take all our children, we sit them in rows, we give them a test based on maths and science. And we determine whether they're worthwhile academically and whether they have a place in society from an academic standpoint. Nowhere is in that IQ test does it test creativity, amazing imagination, and other abilities and talents that are not showcased in our children. How often do our children come away from IQ tests placed in certain classrooms based on that IQ test, believing that they're less of a person than they are? Emotional intelligence is where we need to focus a lot of our attention. We need to teach our children so that they grow into adults who are emotionally aware. We need to teach them who they are and to be really happy with who they are, to develop who they are, not who society or someone else wants them to be. We need to teach our children the skill of staying detached from negative influences that are around them because they know who they are. They need to develop this. It is a very important skill. And I've written some modules which help with studying smarter based on emotional intelligence. Our seniors need these modules. Each module deals with a separate aspect of emotional intelligence, but using those skills to study smarter. Our students need that. That bases studying smarter for students on emotional intelligence skills. In fact, there's a lot of research that has been done in terms of how developing these skills will make a difference in the way you approach your schoolwork, in the way you approach your university work, in the way you approach your work. Emotional intelligence skills is the thing to learn. And if you don't believe me, why don't you try learning about it and applying it in your life? I guarantee your entire life will be turned upside down for the positive. I'm going to ask you a few pertinent questions about from an emotional intelligence point of view, a self-awareness point of view. And take a moment with each question to think about the answer within yourself. Be honest with yourself, but be gentle with yourself. Remember that all-important lesson of not being self-defeating and self-destructive. So here goes. Do you compare yourself to others? Are you envious of what others have? How often do you make excuses for work not done, for not handing in assignments on time, or for behaviors that are not quite positive in your life? Do you blame others for the choices that you make? Blaming others is one of the very important skills that you need to learn as you go through your life. You cannot look outwards to find solutions for yourself. By blaming others, you take away the responsibility of looking within yourself and asking yourself what role you had in creating the situation that you're in. When you're really honest with yourself, every situation that you find yourself in has you in it. You have to have played some role to either get there or create it. Be honest with yourself. Do you blame others? Do you make excuses? Blaming, excuses, those two negative behaviors. The first thing that you need to focus on stamping out in your life. Own yourself. If you make a mistake, if you've hurt someone, perhaps not even intentionally, and they've expressed it to you, there's great merit in stopping, owning it. Yes, that was me. Or yes, I did say that, and I'm terribly sorry that it hurt you in the way that it did. How can I fix it? There is great merit in being able to apologize for something that you're willing to own, your role in a situation. It leads me to another minor topic. You are not going to get on with every single person that comes into your life. We are all at different levels of emotional intelligence. You will find there are some people that you feel like you just can't get through to. And some people who appear to not care. At the real root of it all, we all care. It may not appear that way, but we really do. We all want the same things. But some of us have to take time to learn to get those things. So we behave in reaction mode. And sometimes you bash up against those people in your life. Stay detached. You certainly can make positive choices despite negative people around you. Understand that they may be on a different level to you. Don't express it. You don't have emotional intelligence. It's the way you're behaving the way you are. Because that certainly shows a lack of emotional intelligence on your part, actually. Your reaction to any situation speaks about you. It doesn't speak about the person who has caused you to feel the way you do. Your reaction is about you. Own it. Own it. And always think about a positive way of dealing with it. You are going to fall down. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to feel frustrated. Life is no piece of cake. It is hard sometimes. We feel like giving up sometimes. All of us do. There isn't a person walking on this planet that doesn't have those moments. But being aware that you feel the way you do, owning the way you feel, those steps are going to help you make better choices. And certainly better choices may indeed be to distance yourself from people who create negative environments around you. You do not have to hang out with people that make you feel bad, especially if you have tried to change the situation. You don't have to do anything, actually. So why not choose to make choices that make you happy? So in every situation that you're in, every choice that comes up in your life, ask yourself this question: does this make me happy? Is the result, the consequence of this, going to make me really happy? Not vengeful, happy. Some people equate being vengeful making them feel happy. It doesn't work like that. You cannot be vengeful and happy in the same box. It doesn't go together. Being vengeful or angry or bitter creates a very deep unhappiness in you. And often we don't even realize that. Be aware of it. Does this action make me happy? Be aware of how you feel in that moment. A lot of people are actually addicted to their troubles. They love misery. They love drama, and they just get involved in it and they stir that pot. What they don't realize is how self-destructive those behaviors actually are. And if they just took a moment and turned their ship to sail in a different direction, a more positive direction, being aware that those behaviors actually don't make you happy, they're actually not fulfilling, imagine the amazing, wonderful opportunities that would come into their lives. Imagine the opportunities that would come into your life. Just turn your ship, face in a different direction. Become more self-aware. Students out there, grade 10 to 12, post-matric, if you are interested in exploring this aspect a lot deeper and want to work on a self-study task of learning smarter through emotional intelligence skills, give me a call. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me at this TV station. It really is an important aspect of your life to work on. It'll carry you through for the rest of your life. Next week, we are going to be dealing with the next aspect of emotional intelligence, and that is self-regulation. Knowing how to control your behaviors. The first step, being aware of those behaviors. You cannot sort anything out in your life if you're not aware that you're doing it. So for the next week, as you go about your everyday activities, whether it being studying, going for a jog, going to the gym, interacting with whoever is around you in your world, take a moment to be aware of the words that you use, the feelings that you feel, the emotions that go with that are very important. Be aware of what makes you angry and make some really good choices. You are not going to change everything overnight. Nobody can. But what you can do is work on little steps at a time. Take a moment to change this. Decide, make a better choice there or here. You will reap the benefits of that. The consequences of positive choices are amazing. I dare you to try it. Next week when I speak to you, I'm going to ask you how it went. And I really hope, wherever you're sitting, that you can tick off some positive boxes and positive changes that you have made in your lives. Until next week, it's been wonderful chatting to you. Goodbye.